Hey everybody, welcome back to What the Hell, Helvetica. We have today my good friend Christina McKay, who is a digital artist.
Join Mike Janda and guests to discuss the things that make creative people say, "What the hell, Helvetica?"
As good as possible. As good as possible. And she probably likes to be more humble than that, but honestly, her work is so freaking good. And by the way, Christina, I'm going to put some B-roll on the video version of this so that people can see your work on here.
Cool.
Yeah, so Curvaceous Wraps is her business, vehicle wraps, and she's done them for celebrities, major brands. It's amazing work. So Christina, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the viewers and listeners today?
Yeah, so as you know, my name is Christina McKay. I'm 36 years old, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I'm an artist. That's how I like to call myself. But the canvas that I use is actually cars. So I do like a lot of really cool things on vehicles. My forte right now is a lot of exotic vehicles, which took me a while to get to that point. But, you know, just like anything, you start off small and you start building connections, networking with people. And, you know, I've been doing this now for almost a decade, which is insane. So
that is crazy.
So
I've known you for half of it, which is even crazier.
Found you.
That's
so
even crazier. Yeah.
I got your book, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So that's actually how I found you on social media. Read your book, really talked about the business side of design, wanted to know more because for me, I don't have employees. I don't have any, I'm just here. I started off as a freelancer and things were happening with my business that I felt I wasn't generating enough revenue. Like how can I do this like full time? So I kind of was looking for resources like online, and that's when I kind of stumbled across you. And
I was so okay, good.
Guy knows what he knows a thing or two. So
I'm so glad.
And then I just started following you on social media, and I can't remember, like, I don't know if I reached out. I know I was commenting on a couple of your posts.
I think you commented. Yeah. In the early days when I had a small audience, I used to reply to people on every single comment, and sometimes that would trickle into the DMs also. And so I'm sure it was just we started connecting then.
Yeah, because we had similar ideas and interests and things that we were talking about. And I was really looking.
Okay, your work is amazing. What are some of the brands and clients that you've done work for? And I know a lot of the stuff you do is also concept artwork, right?
Yep, a lot of it too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've worked with pretty much all vehicle brands that you can think of. The big one that I just worked with now is actually Ford. We did a Ford Bronco for the Mets. So that was
that's cool.
Pretty, yeah. So the vehicle's actually in the stadium, like on display. It's all wrapped in like this kind of chrome with the brand colors of the Mets. So that was really cool. But you know, you mentioned celebrities. Yes, I plenty of celebrities. They're a different type of clientele, but I don't know. Maybe this could be like another whole other podcast or something like that.
It could be another podcast,
right? But it's definitely a different beast, I guess, to kind of tackle when you're dealing with celebrities, because they have different. Because you're not really directly dealing with the celebrity themselves. You're dealing with their manager or all the other people to try. So you're always playing middleman, and it's and trying to get your point across and trying to educate and trying to say, like, you know, this might be really cool, but we can't really do this on this time frame. And so it gets complicated quick. And so I feel like learning how to communicate, I'm still learning. Communication is huge. You know, writing email, like all of it. You're wearing all the hats, right? So it gets stressful. There's been times where I'm just, you know, it's like, what is it that I'm trying to do here? But for me, like, the passion it's always the art. It's always the artwork. I always go back to the artwork. So
yeah. Okay, so the meaty topic that we're going to talk about today is generative AI. And the reason we have Christina here is because her work is the type of work that AI is crawling. It's the best of the best. It's crawling this kind of stuff to learn the styles that she does so well. And I know I pinged you, and you're doing a couple things that I would highly recommend everybody does, and we'll talk about those to combat that AI thing. But when this push started, this was about a year ago now.
2 years
and
ago.
Everybody's talked about AI and all blah, blah, blah. But this generative AI being kind of intermingled into everything, and MidJourney and Dolly actually doing a fairly decent job now of creating imagery that you spend hundreds of hours working on. And I'm not doing this, I think you're doing it right. I'm not doing it to make you scared, because this is all stuff you already know. But how do you feel about this situation that you're in as a digital artist?
Yeah, no. So I have a lot of friends also who are artists, and we all have our opinion. So this is definitely a topic that I feel like I don't want people getting their pitchforks like out and just coming after me.
They come after me if I even mention AI. They're like,
it doesn't even matter. It's a definitely sensitive topic.
There are humans on the other side of your hater comments, just so everybody knows. Yeah.
For me, I do not feel that AI, with my specific type of work, can take over just yet. It's because, the type of work that is so massive. The scale, the quality, everything that I am generating. My machines, like my computer systems, everything, like they're hefty. Like I need, like I'm not just doing like a small little, I don't know, example, like a canvas, like a 8x10 canvas, a lot of this artwork that AI is taking, when it pushes it out, you can see it, like when you scale up, they have AI now even just to scale up images, but even that is not, it's not right up to par. My concern is that AI, like you've seen AI when it first came out, like how it was to where it is. Like, I don't know if you saw the Will Smith thing. Will Smith did the spaghetti.
Yes.
You see that?
I did, yes.
Yeah, and when it first came out, it was just really terrible, and everyone's just like, well, like this is, like, what is this? And now 2 years later, look where it is. It's insane. So I can only imagine, give it, a few more years, where it's going to be at. So I'm still kind of like, I'm not in the worry section just yet. Because as you can see, like a lot of the work that I'm doing, and you'll see it on my social media, I show the process of how I am generating these images that are just high scale. The quality's there, the detail, AI just can't do. And the thing is, AI, the way that I feel about it when I'm looking at it is that I'm being the creative director. I'm trying to tell the AI system, like, I use AI for a lot of my concepts, like ideas. And for me, it's no different than going to Google and typing in a flower field, like, give me some inspiration, or going to Pinterest and trying to find like those mood boards, things like that. So that's what I use AI for. And even like when you type in certain prompts, like keywords, the images that pop up are good, but you really need to know, like, there's whole courses on how to make these prompts so that you're really directing that AI to really create something that, there's times that AI is giving me something, I'm like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. Like, that's amazing. Like, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to like go with it. And this is a concept that, probably would have taken me hours of research online just to kind of figure out. So for me, it's just, it's like an inspiration tool. It's a tool. It's like, it's a tool for me. And I have fun with it. Like, I can get creative. It's like this, it just creates like these ideas that I just never even thought of before, and it just gets my mojo, my imagination mojo, just kind of running, right? So
yeah,
I love it. But going back to your point, like, how do you feel about it taking other artists' artwork for that inspiration? I feel like I've done a lot of research on AI and like how it actually generates these images. And have you ever heard of the book Steal Like an Artist?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah,
like I feel like all artists in some way we're influenced in some way or manner, or we see something that inspires us online, or we just So for me, AI is no different. Like, it's just another quicker way to get there. Like, I will give you an example. So recently my mom, she plays pickleball, and she came to me, she's like, yeah, the team, they're looking for a logo.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's how I started in this industry. I was a commercial rap vehicle. I did things for, a plumber, or,
the plumber and the electrician van and stuff.
Put on their car, right?
Yeah.
So I got, branding, I kind of got a good sense of it.
Yeah.
And I said to my mom, I said, let's just use AI, because I'm working. I don't really have time to be making logos, but it's my mom. And so I sat down with her and I said, okay, well, describe what you would think this logo is, right? And she wanted like this mascot, and she wanted like this cute little character. And I sat down with her and we just went into, I think it was MidJourney. And I just typed in like all these things that were inspiring her.
Uh-huh.
And it popped out like these characters. And we went through, I think it was like 100 different concepts. And I'm like, for me, like way back when I first started, I would have loved to have this and sit down with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And just because now it did that, and we did that in 5 minutes, 100 concepts.
Yeah.
And it's like, I still need, as an artist, like I still need to go in there, refine it, and like refine, and make it actually, something that you can use in branding, vectorizing, all of that good stuff. But it just helped. It got the idea out, and it was so easy just to communicate with my mom. And I'm just like, I got to do this with all my clients. Like, this is, this is mind blowing. Like, if like a person could not do that, that would have taken me, I don't know, a good month for sure.
What about the people, the clients who are just using that instead of paying you to use it as concepts, and then they're just using the thing that gets output instead of paying a designer? What do you think about that?
Where I feel like they're not educated. They're not understanding like what makes a good. Because you can't. Like, you need the human essence with it. You need that. Like I said, you need to be the creative director, because like with AI, can't understand what looks good, in my opinion. It can't. Like for me, like I did a couple of pinups recently, and so I just wanted maybe like, can you give me an idea of like a body pose or something? And everything's just so stiff, and it's just like.
Mm-hmm.
And me as an artist, I got to go into Photoshop, and I got to manipulate it, and I got to like, do those angles and like those cool shots, and like, if her head is tilted this way, or if her back is arched, or, so I'm being the artist, I'm playing the artist, and I'm making the image that much more interesting. And I do that with my raps too, right? Like right now I'm working on Lord of the Rings. We're doing this one. It's one of the, what ring rafts or ring race is what they're called.
Yeah, ring race. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so cool. He's got the robes, and like we're doing this whole thing on the side of this GTR, and but for me, I'm going into Photoshop and I'm manipulating those robes to really flow with the like AI can't do that. It's just it's not going to touch it. I don't know. Like I said, a few years. Maybe, but like what I do is so specific. Like it's not, I don't know. I don't see it happening, but.
I think one of the things that people need to be aware of is that AI, the first things it's going to gobble up are the low cost things. The client who has a $50 budget for their logo, they might as well just use AI and output a logo and use whatever it outputs. The client that has a $300 budget and wants a giant ring wraith wrap for their Lamborghini.
Yep.
Well, that client's not going to have a $300 budget, and they're not going to use just an AI generated thing. They're going to spend the thousands of dollars to have you create the custom artwork that they want, that the cape flows right with the car and does the whole thing you're talking about, that human piece. I think that that's what happens with this. The low stuff goes away for designers. That's what goes away first.
That's a positive, wouldn't it be?
Higher end stuff stays. And in fact, I had this happen in my agency. I think I talked about it on another podcast, so forgive me if you've heard this before, anybody listening to this. But in 2009, it was about 2010, the builders, the website builders and the WordPress templates and stuff started to emerge. So there was Wix and there was Squarespace and there was templates you could just buy on Envato and install it and then create cheap, fast websites. And what went away from my agency were a lot of those brochure sites that we used to charge clients $10,000, $15,000 for. Those went away because they became $1,000 projects for lower end, more junior level designers or agencies than what ours was. We started to get the enterprise level stuff. So our project budgets for websites started to go up. They would be the $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 engagements for a website. But the stuff that used to be our bread and butter was the lower end stuff that we used to be able to charge $10,000 for. And I think it's going to be the same with some of this, the AI generative images, that it will gobble up some of the people who are using, they need an image for their newsletter that they send out to their customers. And instead of paying $5 to iStock photo for a for an image for their newsletter, they'll just output it with AI and throw it into their newsletter. I think that that's what's going to go away. So for designers like you, Christina, your stuff is so high end. You're not playing in that little playground. I don't think you're in jeopardy of AI stealing the Lamborghini wrap of Jabba the Hutt
You can try.
that somebody wants to have on their Lamborghini. It's not going to steal that stuff
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
from you.
Good example. I don't mean to cut you off, but when you're talking about like the small pool and like how companies are just going to generate things. Wacom, I mean, they came out and they had an apology, but they took a dragon from AI. Like, I don't know if you remember.
I don't know. No.
Oh my God. Oh, you got to look this up. Because it like.
Wacom.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, the tablet.
You tell the story
I'm
while I look it up.
wrong. It's a German name. Wacom, I think is the proper
Wacom. Wacom. Okay, I've got it
but
up.
type in dragon.
Yeah, I
type
got
in
it.
dragon.
Yeah.
And for a company that actually promotes digital art and for digital artists, yeah, there he is. So if you really
So if you're watching the video version of this, you'll see these images on here. So this was AI generated, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you look at this dragon, there's things going on with him. I don't know if you can get like a image that's a bit high res.
Like this little comparison one, or you want to zoom in?
I don't know. He was more like a mascot. He was more like a little.
Is it like this little?
But they did come out with like a public apology. I think that one, that's the teal. Yeah, him.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. Or this one. Is this what you're talking about?
What? No, not him. The other one. You just had him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah, you just had him. That guy. There's just things as an artist that you would need to like go in and dive in and refine and tune and make it like an actual character. Like you can't use that for, you know, if you were going to be printing, you know what I'm trying to say? Like this is a company that should not, I don't know where they got it from or who they hired. Maybe they didn't hire. Maybe they just, like you said, just went online and produced it and put it on this.
Yeah, how did I not hear about this?
You should.
So I have some on the screen. You can look up Wacom or Wacom Dragon Art, and there'll be a bunch of AI debacle articles and things that you'll find about this. And okay, so for a company like that, when their tool set is the actual pen
you're using
to use and tablet to use to create custom artwork, to use an AI image in their marketing is a total miss. Now, what we don't know from our cursory observation here is maybe they hired a digital artist and that digital artist just used AI to output the dragon and Wacom didn't know about it. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt in this, that they may not have known. But even still, somebody somewhere in the chain of the creation of this marketing used AI. Yeah. So that's a miss. I think it's a miss for everybody using AI in some way. Like I got called out. I used an AI image in my newsletter one time. I made a video about it, telling people that if you cancel me for putting it in my newsletter, you got to cancel Adobe and Canva and every other freaking and Microsoft and Apple. Go down the list. Like, don't just cancel me, cancel everybody. That was my point. And people didn't like that. The haters came after me just for that.
No one can hate you.
But anyway, my point in it was I made an AI generated image, put it into my newsletter, and I even called it out. And I said, hey, this image was generated by DALL-E 3. I'm experimenting with AI because it's all the rage. Everybody's talking about it. So I'm experimenting with it, and you should be too. That's what I put in my thing. So I clearly documented it as AI. And then somebody replied to my email and said, if you're going to continue to use stolen artwork in your email, I'm going to unsubscribe. And I replied to him and I was like, oh, sorry to see you go. That's what I replied. Anyway, it was a little blow to me and it sparked me to make that video of just saying, don't just cancel me, cancel the entire freaking industry, because this is what's going. I mean, this was after Adobe had announced at Adobe Max last year that they were sticking generative AI in every freaking software they have. Now you open Photoshop, you put a marquee tool on anywhere, and it's like, what do you want to put here? Generative AI prompt just shows up in the bottom of it. Yeah,
like like Instagram now too. Like it's trying to. I guess like the AI actually generates like a code. So when you're putting it online, it will say like made with AI. So I had an image. It does. Yeah, so I had an image where I used the generative fill command. I mean, for me, like I used to use, like I remember when Content Aware first came out, I was like, oh my God, this is life changing.
I know, wasn't that the best? That was like 10 years ago. It was the greatest invention of all time. I'm like, please, thank you.
It's no different. It's still AI. Like it's the computer, like working its magic. But that's the thing. Like it's a tool, and so when it's labeling my work like made with AI, it does feel like it's taking away something from like and I'm just like, I just used generative fill. That's all I did, and it's labeling it as made with AI.
Where does it get labeled? How does that work?
You'll see it. Instagram, I think just last week, just launched this thing. So now every time you look through a post, you can see people who are using or creating their stuff with it. But it's iffy. I mean, like I said, like if you're using the tools in Photoshop, that's not AI to me. Like in a sense, it is technically, but we use these tools to create our art. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like,
well, I go back in time, back to the days when you had to manually make drop shadows. And now you have drop shadow freaking filter that you can just click, and the default drop shadow, it pops it on there, and you're like, do you want to adjust it or not? And technically that's AI. I mean, that's been AI. It's computer generated. It's generated imagery that isn't created by me drawing anything or duplicating layers and putting a freaking Gaussian blur and all the stuff that you used to do to make a drop shadow on something. Now it's just a toggle. And that's been AI. And so my perspective on it is kind of what you were leaning toward there, is that you look at this has been slowly migrating this way for so long. It's been decades of enhanced tools and features that make your work easier, and they are artificial intelligence that are doing it. You could have the smart lasso tool that came out, that was probably freaking 15 years ago, the magnetic lasso. And you're like moving your arm, or you're moving your marquee around, and it's automatically trying to snap to the object or to the line that you were wanting to snap it to. How is that different than AI today? It's artificial intelligence trying to figure out what you're trying to select and automatically snap to it. It is AI. Now, there is a difference. I mean, obviously you can just generate an entire image now and not just a marquee box around an image. So it is different. I get that. But it's been a gradual evolution to this. You mentioned content-aware fill. Content-aware fill was like a freaking decade ago, and that was AI. We just didn't call it AI. Now everybody's addicted. Everybody's addicted to be like what the Helvetica podcast with Mike Janda and Christina McKay, brought to you by AI. We could just throw it on the end of it, like everybody's doing. It's like every new feature, every new tool. Microsoft now with AI. Apple iPhone, iOS, whatever with AI. Everybody's throwing it on the freaking end of it. Like this is the buzziest, stupid thing ever. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
It's hard. And that's why I was saying, I hope people don't come after me with their pitchforks, because it is a sensitive topic, especially in the art world. A lot of people now are leaving Instagram too, because Instagram just put out that they're going to, like, I don't know, do like this massive sweep or something and take everyone's art and put it in the program and use that for, which, you know, I understand. The thing, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit here.
Back up.
For me, my art, I've always had my art taken some way, somehow, referenced.
It
just comes with the job. Not to say that it's right. And it's really funny too, because I was just on, I think it was MidJourney. And I typed in something, I think it was Star Wars. It was Star Wars. I did a rap like years and years ago, that we did the Darth Maul, kind of inspired. We did like this like really cool cracks and everything all in the vehicle. And it was more like this metal kind of helmet sort of thing that, anyway, or no, it wasn't Darth Maul. It was, what's the guy's name? He's not Darth Vader. He's Kylo Ren. Is that
Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren.
Thank you.
Yes.
So it was based off of his armor. And it was just funny. Just the other day, I went on MidJourney. I typed in Star Wars vehicle wrap just to see what would pop up. And I screamed out to my husband. I'm like, I made it on here. There's my wrap.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Wow.
I made it.
MidJourney output?
It wasn't, I could tell it was mine. But it wasn't like completely everything taken. Like, of course, it's not going to be as high quality as mine, right? But the idea was there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah. Because, I mean, I have the wrap. I used to have it like on my website for sale, all of that. So definitely took the idea. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay, so you mentioned something at the beginning of that I think was interesting. Like, how is it any different than humans stealing your artwork, which has been happening for the last decade?
Long time.
I had that happen. Like you were there at the whole carousel boom of Instagram, and man, people were stealing my content all over the place. They would steal it. They would like take out my name on the bottom and post it as their own. Like that's the level of stealing. It was just, remove the name on it. And so, yeah, AI is using source imagery for alleged inspiration to output new things for you to look at.
Yeah.
But how's that any different? In fact, I think humans are worse than AI at stealing because they don't even try and cover it up. The humans, they just steal it. They just steal it and erase your name from it. So why didn't we pitchfork those people when we should have,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's a hard one. For me, like, I feel like again, that creative director, like that's the key word for me is creative director. If you have it in your head, like AI cannot read what's in your mind. Like it can't, unless you have that chip now that, you can.
Yes, that's coming. We'll all be chipped. We'll all be chipped
one a day.
And when I say that, everybody's like, we already are chipped. You're carrying your phone around. Everybody knows everything. So you're just carrying the chip outside your body.
It's that communication, right? It's like, I got to try to communicate what is in my head, like what I'm seeing. Not everyone has that. I mean, I have clients like, I'll know it when I see it, right? And it's just, like for me, like the compliments that I get is like, how do you think of that? How do you, where does that come from? Like, it's just like someone being like naturally witty and funny. Like sometimes like a certain person, it just comes naturally too. With me, I just have these outrageous, flanges like ideas that just pop in my head that I just want to create.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times too, like when I am diving into my artwork, it never turns out the way that I really imagine it. The ideas are there, but sometimes more often it comes out better. It's just like, wow, like, I had the idea and now it's real. It's real life. It's there. And for me too, like I have a background in 3D, like animation, things like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I remember my teacher, he said to me, and this was something that's always stuck with me, but he said, you can create anything that comes to your imagination. And I loved that. I was just like, like you can, you really can. It's just, how do you do it? And, these tools for me, these are just tools to kind of help with that process. It's not that you're not an artist. It's not that, because that's what I feel like a lot of people are saying is that, oh, well, you're cheating, you're doing this, it's like, no, like the amount of work, the effort that I actually put into my craft, it's like, if you can do that, another story I can tell you. So growing up being an artist, the way I learned how to be an artist, I actually traced. I did
too. Trace comic books.
See?
Yep.
And then you learn, like, what did you learn from that? Like, you learned the shapes.
Everything.
You learned how things were, formed and just the lighting, the shadows. Without that, like, I don't want to call it muscle memory, but it's just your understanding, like, the concept of what builds something. And without, like, me tracing, I would never have understood it. Like, I couldn't break it down. But my whole life growing up is, oh, you're tracing. Well, that's not art. Like, I can trace. Like, that's... And it's like, no, like, this is a tool. I'm learning. I'm educating myself on how to be a better artist. So, again, that's like another...
Let's talk about your process now, and for those of you watching this video version, I'm going to share my screen on this too. This is one of your pieces of artwork that I watched. I watched your speed time lapse, for creating this, and I'll zoom in. This is for the Fallout show that's on Amazon Prime, and the artwork's amazing. And I remember seeing, I don't think this is the post that has it, maybe it's at the end, but this little badge on her shirt right here. I remember seeing you take a piece of metal from something and like some other image and pull it out and then manipulate the angle of it and stuff and then stick it on here. And how much of that are you doing in your artwork? Because like these boots right here. You said much?
Too much. I'm doing it too much.
Too much. But you bring it all together. I mean, it's art, but these boots may exist somewhere in the world, right?
Well, those boots are generated by me.
Yeah.
They could.
Well, I know, but like style of these boots, like the style of these boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's fantasy. I mean, those boots don't actually exist, but you know, looking at leather, looking at references, looking at other like shoe shapes.
Yeah.
You make the boot.
Yeah.
I added all the stitching. Textures for me is what brings my artwork to life. Without like high quality textures, it just doesn't. It looks like a flat. And I mean, it depends on your style too. For me as a digital artist, I'm all about high quality textures, and maybe that comes back from my 3D. But there it is. There's the badge.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
But so what I did with the 3D badge, I modeled that in a 3D program, right? And then I rendered it with like a silver, like lighting material overlay. And then I took a screenshot and then I threw it into Photoshop and then I overlaid it on my artwork. So that's how that worked. But yeah, references like the AI cannot. It can't. So this, I can print that and it could be the size of a massive, like 15-story building. It would print that large.
Yeah.
So,
So what I think, this is what I think you're doing right, that every other digital artist needs to lean into. And this is why you're on here. You're humanizing all of this. You do it two different ways that I see. One is this, the time lapse showing you building this entire image. That's the piece that makes somebody realize, oh my gosh, this wasn't just output by putting in some freaking prompt in MidJourney and kicked out. This is something that took the painstaking, sensitive approach of an artist. So I think that that's one of the things that makes your work have the value that it does, that this isn't just output that way. And the other thing that you do so well is like this one, where in the thumbnail, you're standing in front of the giant piece of art.
Yeah.
And you're bringing your own person into the work. That, I think, is the must. If you're a digital artist, those are the two things that you have to start adding to your marketing. You have to start adding the actual process of you creating this thing from the initial sketches all the way through. And time lapses like Christina's doing is so good. And then you have to start bringing your own face to be synonymous with the work that you're showing. Otherwise, it might as well just be AI, because nobody's going to know the difference. They're not going to have that. And then it has less value, because in their perception, you might as well just have output it. Yeah. So how much of that, of those two things are you've always kind of done those though. I mean, so, but now I think it's super important.
For me, like I just feel like people don't understand the process and like how much work is actually involved. So that's how I started. It's like, I'm going to show them like how much, like how I actually created this. I mean, maybe that was just childhood trauma, just kind of like I got to prove myself with everything. So like, again,
how do you
like,
feel about your dad? This is where we go next in the therapy question.
Yeah.
So, okay, but keep going. We won't go there.
I can definitely talk about my dad, because I mean, without my dad, I know it's like more of a negative thing in some ways, but I would not be here. I would not be the artist I am without him putting me down the way that he did. So
this was bold. So I didn't mean to go that direction. Like, but you were the one who started therapy. You started the therapy session, so I just went with it. But that's like the second question.
The other thing, like a lot of artists, I don't mean, we'll come back to this in a sec, but like a lot of artists.
No, we don't need to. Go ahead.
But a lot of artists, I find, we all kind of have like that similar story where there was some sort of I don't know, there's like some sort of doubt, or someone telling someone like, that's not real, that's not Kate. Like you look at like celebrities even, like it's just for that person. They don't see it as being, so like with my dad, he never saw art as a job, right? I'm going to be on the street doing whatever, like my little cartoon characters or my flowers or whatever. And so for me, like being his daughter, I always just wanted to prove like, no, like people like this stuff. People actually will pay money to buy my art. I can make a living just because you couldn't do it or didn't want to, like, he just couldn't see it. He was just in that sort of generation where it's just like, maybe it was what he was taught. You know what I mean? And I always, set out to prove myself to my dad a lot. And, I don't know if I ever made him proud. I hope. But, at the end, so just for people that don't know, my dad passed away 2 years ago, and he died by suicide. And I'm a big, like, I don't mind talking about it because of mental health. And for me, I just know who my dad was. And I tried everything that I could to really help him and to see the world in a way that there was good to it. But again, that mental health where everything was just so negative and dark. And it's sad, really. I really felt bad for my dad.
Yeah, it's really sad.
So
it's a long life to live if that's your perspective. It's a long, difficult every day. And difficult. Yeah.
I'm not saying that, life's easy and is all happy, hunky-dory and be positive all the time. It's hard work. And there's a lot of things that happen. But for me, just to know, and it wasn't until I actually met my husband who was the one who said, like, oh my God, like, you're an artist? Like, you do this? Like, you're really good. And for me, it's just, no, I have to go get a real job. I can't do art. I can't, that was my dad's way of thinking. And my husband was like, no, like, wrong, go.
Yeah.
And especially like with social media and everything coming out, like, go put yourself out there. Like, that's what people engage with. People see the face and you talk about the story about how you created this or and the thing is, the reason why I got into cars was, again, trying to get my dad's approval because he was a real car guy and because he wasn't in my art, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, well, what if I just took my art and put it on a car? Like, would he like me then? Maybe he'll accept me then.
Wow.
So that's how it kind of started. So like I said, I would not be here without that. Because if my dad was accepting and supportive and all of these great, I wouldn't have gotten the vehicle wraps. There's no way. So yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting introspection on that. I'm glad. I mean, so for those of you that don't know, Christina's husband is Alan McKay. He has a great podcast. He's a visual effects artist for
Hollywood.
the biggest of biggest movies in Hollywood. He's touched. And so anyway, he's great too. You guys are like a creative powerhouse over there. To just nerd out about design and special effects all the time. Is that what you're...
That's sure. I mean, that's what brought us together. So it's that passion.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talk a lot about AI as well. Like, I mean, he's a real techno guru. He knows a lot about technology. And like, I don't know, I've had people come to me say, oh, your husband must have done that for you. And
geez.
No.
Like, slap him. Yeah.
Right? But you're always going to get that kind of... I've had people say, like, you're only anybody because of your husband and this and that. And it's like, I do what I do. Like, it's taken me years to get to where I am. And
this goes back to what I was talking about at the start of that, is showing the process and showing that time lapse, and that it's irrefutable evidence that you're as good at this as anybody. That's what those show. And so I think everybody needs to lean into that. thank you for sharing about your dad. I didn't mean to open that can of worms.
No, that's okay.
But I'm glad that you shared, because that's such an important thing. And that's some of the stuff that I want to touch on in this podcast too. My very first episode of this podcast was about mental health and designers and the whole trauma that we all feel. Here's what I see in you, Christina. You have the insecurity of an artist, and then you have the ambition, the competitive, I'll prove you ambition of an entrepreneur. And it's such a good mix. Yeah. And you said that it came from your dad seeking dad's approval. And how many of us feel that in our lives, and especially as artists, when we're already built in to be insecure in general, we seek that approval. But that competitive drive is so entrepreneurial. And when you mix that with this humility and drive that comes from the other side of never feeling like my art is going to be good enough, that humble perspective, then you're going to continually progress and succeed over time. And I think that AI stands no chance against those kinds of people. Like, you're going to figure it out. Yep. And you're not running from it. This is the thing that I get afraid of for designers or for digital artists, illustrators in general, is that AI, they're so mad about it that they refuse to open their mind into how they could ethically use it for themselves. And you mentioned concepting at the start. Give me 100 ideas for this thing, and then you get 2 sparks, human sparks, out of the 100 AI sparks, and those 2 things drive you into a new direction for your custom artwork. That's what everybody should at least be doing with AI. I'm not a fan of the stealing art business and people using that and blah, blah, blah. But I think that that's the low end stuff. That's not going to be, I guess, other than Wacom and their dragon.
What was it? Wacom?
Wacom.
Wacom.
Wacom. Wacom. Wacom.
You know, yeah.
That I think that's the, other than that, it shouldn't, you're not going to find Pepsi using AI generated artwork on their next ad at this point. I don't think that that's happening. What do you think the future is for that and for you? Like, when does it eclipse? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's like, I kind of mentioned this at the very beginning of the podcast. Like, I don't know, honestly, like, I don't know where it's going. It is pretty freaky how it's advanced so quickly. But like, anything like just to make my job easier, I'm all for it. You were gonna say something?
No, I was going to say it's such a good perspective. It's such a good perspective. You look at it as a new tool, as a new tool in your arsenal of all the other tools that you have. And half those tools have been freaking AI in the first place, like content aware fill, like we talked about.
I don't understand. Like, it's something you're using. And so for people to really hate on it, or just, I get where it stems from. It's like, this thing's taking away artwork and it's not right. And I understand that, but I feel like there's such a bigger thing that people aren't discussing. Like, they're not talking about how to use it in a way that can actually be like a creative outlet for you know, like, I don't know. I just know, like, when I first started, even if I was in school or whatever, like, there's a friend of mine, he actually does teach. His problem right now is that he's getting these new students that are coming in, and they're just like, what's the point? What's the point in learning this if I can just go on the computer and hit a button and it's giving me the artwork? But the thing that these kids, like, I say kids, but what they're failing to realize is the understanding, like the 101 knowledge of it, like what makes art good. Like, without that understanding, you're not gonna, like, for me, like, if someone comes and says, like, I need this arm adjusted to be this way and this way, you can tell the AI to, like, okay, well, can you move the arm, like, maybe 3 more inches to the right or something? But it's not going, like, for me, it's just quicker. As a designer, I can just hop on in. I can use the tools that are given to me in Photoshop, and I can adjust that. And it just, but I would never have known that if I didn't know the 101 steps to do that, right?
Yeah.
Understanding, like, again, going back to the basics, like understanding shapes and understanding perspective and color and like all of it. You need to know all of it in order to become. And it takes time. Like for me, like I look at my old artwork compared to what I do now. It's like, whoa, like where did this come from? Right? I'm so much better. That's just because I learned as I was moving along. And AI is not going to teach, a student or it's not going to tell a student that this looks good, So this is a struggle he's been facing with AI. And I feel for him because it's like, how do you teach these students that, you can't just use AI to generate everything when you're working on a film or working on these fields that they want to get into. So,
Well, you could kind of go that perspective and say, why do people learn how to type anymore when you can just do voice to text?
Right.
Why would you ever learn how to type on a keyboard? Or why would you ever learn how to write with a pen when a keyboard exists? Like you could go down that route and say, why would anybody learn how to do art when you can just tell a prompt to do it? Well, it's the same thing. Why would anybody learn how to tell a story or write a book when you can just tell AI to do it? I know there's a gray area because there's like you can go to music though. Like there are AI tools that generate music. Does that mean that we're gonna not have music artists anymore?
Right.
No, the AI isn't gonna be on the freaking Eras tour selling out arenas. Like there's still something about that human to human connection behind the song that connects with the soul of the other person. And that's the same way it's going to be with writing and art and music and every other artistic creative endeavor. You just have to bring the humanity into it. And that has to be part of the story of the artwork in the future. It can't be you hiding behind it saying this is the artwork and that's the centerpiece. It has to be you and the artwork. There are very few artists. Like what did Pablo Picasso look like? I think he's one of the most famous artists of all time, that if you and I had a lineup of 70 artists or 10, let's say 10 artists of that same era or 10 people from that same era, would we be able to pick which one was Pablo Picasso? I don't know, but we do with Van Gogh. We know Van Gogh because he painted self-portraits that were somewhat reminiscent of him. We could probably choose who he was. But like Monet and Manet, I couldn't pick freaking Claude Monet out of a freaking lineup. He was one of my favorite artists ever. And I could not tell you I couldn't even describe what he looks like.
Yeah.
So those days are over, I think. Those days are over. I think that if you're an artist, you have to attach your face to the work that you produce so that it has human value in it and not just artistic value.
And I will say, like, with me, like, I was deathly shy. Like, I was scared of everyone and everything. And just to put myself on social media, like, it takes a lot. A lot of courage, a lot of, but like, you get used to it in time. The more you do it, just like anything. The more that you do things like this, like podcasts, like I'm pushing myself right now. I was really nervous coming on here. But I'm feeling kind of good now. I feel kind of
good. You did great. You did great.
So, but yeah, a face, to know who the artist is, it's just going to connect people more. Rather than just putting something out there. Like people, that's what we want. That's what we want to see. That's what we're, attracted to. I don't know. I just saw this one girl. She just posted this kitten painting that she did on a rock, and she had the rock here, and she's posing with it, and she's just smiling. But I love that image so much more than just showing the little rock and the kitten.
Right?
It's cute. sweet, but with her, it just gives it, there's just more. It's like, I want it now. I want that more.
Yes.
More. So.
Yes. I think that's such the key. That's the safe place for people in the AI world. The AI isn't going to change. That's just going to get bigger and faster and better over time. Your safe haven is bringing your humanity into what you're creating for clients or for digital art for yourself or whatever.
Yep.
You're creating it. You have to let the people know that it's you. And this is a manifestation of what's inside you. And then all of a sudden it takes on a whole new value that AI can never, ever replace. Never.
Nope.
All right. What closing thoughts do you have? Do you have any final little thought as we wrap up our What the Helvetica episode?
What is it? Helvetica.
Yes.
I love that name for the podcast, by the way. I thought that was genius. That was so, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Perfect.
It's so fun.
But clothing thoughts. I guess just going back to my dad for a second. Every day, like, I wake up, I think about my dad, no matter what. And I always think how every day that he would wake up and how he just didn't want to be here and how he would look at life. And I don't know, I can't imagine life like that. And anyone that is going through that sort of depression or mental health, like, I just want to send the message that you can do, like, and I know it's going to sound cheesy and everything else, but you seriously can. If you just put your mind to it, you can do anything. You can, anything you want. There's no one stopping you, and it's just your own mind. It's you stopping you, and you can do it. There's no reason why you can't. And I know people will come up with excuses. Well, I never had a great childhood, or I never had this, or never had that. But we all go through something, and it's hard. It's not easy, and everyone's heart is different. I understand that too. But I guess for me, I wanted it, and I went for it, and I worked hard, and I'm still working hard, and I don't know. So
those are great closing thoughts. Thank you. Okay. You're the best of the best out there doing what you do right now. Honestly, nobody is creating digital art in the styles that you do that is better. It can be as good, but it's not better. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
You've achieved greatness in that. And then bringing that humanity into it and doing things like this are just game changing. And what everybody should be doing, not podcasts necessarily, but at least hold the rock with the kitty face on it. At least hold the rock in a still photo. Start there. Start. Yep.
Baby steps.
Yep. Okay, Christina, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I appreciate you. Love being friends with you and with Alan. You guys have been great for so many years. We've been friends.
We're pretty awesome. We're pretty cool.
Yeah, you guys are pretty awesome. You are pretty awesome, both of you.
Thanks. Thanks, Mr. Moore. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of What the Helvetica. If you like this podcast, please leave a review on your favorite podcast app, or drop a comment in YouTube video, or share it with a friend. All those things help the podcast get into more ear holes. Yeah. And we appreciate you. And thanks again, Christina, for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, take care. Bye.